Oh my god, guys, what's that sound? Wait, is that the sound of the other Bennet sister shitting hot, wet diarrhea all over the last 3 seasons of Bridgerton? Is that what that sound is? Because I think that it is. I just, in some ways, also like not too much on Canthony, like season 2 supremacy for me personally. Today, I am coming at you with a fun little video about the new BBC drama, The Other Bennet Sister. The way I said that made it sound like I'm sponsored. I swear to you, I'm not. Inshallah, one day it will be me, but no, I'm not. I just really wanted to talk about The Other Bennet Sister and what I think it really succeeded at, that I feel like the other Regency era period pieces that we are seeing on television now, Bridgerton, are failing at. It's not that I think it's a perfect show, it's just that I think it is very well done, and that I feel like this is what we want from the mise-en-scène of these types of shows, and I think it would behoove the Bridgerton series to take some notes. So I'm going to open a little bottle of wine, and we are going to have a nice little drinky while we have this conversation, while I am pouring my glass. If you are new here, my name is Nada. I put out videos every week about really anything that I want to talk about. Sometimes it's books, sometimes it's movies, sometimes it's TV shows, or other pop culture phenomenon. That is something that you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button down below. It would really help me out. Also, if you would give this video a thumbs up if you are interested in Regency era dramas. I watched The Other Bennet Sister, which is based on the novel of the same name by author Janice Hadlow, and it follows the other Bennet sister, Mary. Mary is one of the sisters whose stories we don't really follow in Pride and Prejudice, and who also doesn't seem as interested in romance as the other Bennet sisters. In the novel Pride and Prejudice, she's the sister who puts herself forward as an alternative to Elizabeth to marry Mr. Collins, and she seems genuinely interested in marrying him. Like, she seems to think that they have a lot in common because she reads a lot of sermons. He's a, not priest, because they don't call it, because they left the, whatever. He's a reverend, something like that. And so she's like, I'll marry him if Elizabeth doesn't want to, so that we can keep Longbourn in the family. I'll marry him, but he's not interested. And that's really all we see of Mary Bennet. There's also is not a lot of information about her life after. Like, you know that Lydia ended up marrying Mr. Wickham, Jane married Mr. Bingley, Elizabeth married Mr. Darcy. It's not confirmed in text who Kitty ends up marrying, but I think Jane Austen's brother said she married some sort of like, you know when they have priests in England, right? They have a priest who lives in a house, in a parsonage, okay? Parson. That's what it is. She married a parson. Mary is seen as having, like, not really ever made anything of herself, is what Jane Austen's brother said. So this show, the premise of the show is kind of like, what if Mary was the main character, right? And what if her life didn't turn out as sadly as Jane Austen's brother seems to have implied that it did? It's also nice because you kind of get to see the married lives of Jane, Elizabeth, Lydia, and Kitty after they're like integrated into their own families. And you get to see Mary kind of struggle with being the Bennet sister who is seen as the plainest and the least desirable. I also need you to know, like, there's going to be spoilers in this review. I'm just telling you right now. So if you would like to pause this and come back after you watch the show, go on ahead and do that, but I will be talking about spoilers. If you've ever seen like Water for Chocolate, there's this like tradition in that family, the like main family in like Water for Chocolate, where the youngest daughter has to stay unmarried and take care of the mother. So in the book and the movie, the youngest daughter in the family ends up falling in love with this man, but because she can't marry him because she has to stay home with her mother pawns the man off to her oldest sister, and he ends up marrying her oldest sister and having kids with her. The man is not that great. That's beside the point. But that's basically like what it seems like is going to happen to Mary, because nobody wants to marry her. The first episode episode, she does have a love interest. His name is Mr. Sparrow, and he's the son of like the merchant in town. I think he's going to go on to become a doctor. Like he wants to go to London and become a doctor and like make a professional out of himself. And he has a huge crush on her. She seems to have a crush on him. It's very cute to me personally. I thought it was very adorable. They dance at a party together, but they danced too much, so it caused a bit of a scandal. But she goes to her mom and she's like, I think Mr. Sparrow wants to marry me. Like, he seems really interested in me. And her mom is like, you're not gonna marry a merchant's son? What the hell is wrong with you? Because I'm pretty sure, like, the Bennet family is a part of the landed gentry, and the landed gentry is the middle class in the class system in the United Kingdom. And then underneath that is everyone else, basically, and there's different stratifications in there. But the implication of a merchant's son is that you made your money very recently. You don't necessarily have land to your name, therefore you are not like descended from any type of aristocracy. And also you are like, you have to work for the money that you have. You're not just earning interest on the land, the tracts of land that your family owns. So her mom is like absolutely astonished, and Mary ends up having to go and tell this guy, and it really breaks his heart. He leaves town. It's really sad. You kind of see like through the show what it's like to be the Bennet sisters, who are not the beautiful Jane or the sparklingly witty Elizabeth or the reckless Lydia. Like, Lydia only got married because she ran off with a man. Jane got married because she fell in love with someone who found her very beautiful, and then also they had a lot in common. And Elizabeth got married through like any types of machinations. But with Mary, it's kind of like there's nothing really for anyone to be interested in outside of her personality, right? Because she is the fourth daughter, or like she's the middle child of this family full of daughters. She's not going to inherit anything. So it makes sense why she would be interested in potentially marrying Mr. Collins as a solution to like her family's impending eviction from their ancestral home, Longbourn. It also makes sense why like there's not a lot of people sniffing around her, because marriage is not just a love thing, it's also a like financial proposition. And when the guy wanted to marry her for love, her mother was like, that's disgusting, what are you talking about? Overall, I would say I really, really enjoyed the show. I thought the story was compelling. I wanted to know where it was going to go next. I wanted to know what was going to happen to Mary, and like see the ways that these characters were kind of brought to life again through this different lens that the show is being told through. I will say I loved the actress who played Mary, and I really enjoyed the characterization of Mary as a character. But one of the things that I kind of struggled with the show was that it felt like she didn't have any flaws in the same way that like Elizabeth had flaws that really animated her and made her like relationship with Darcy interesting. And Darcy had flaws that really animated him and made his relationship with Elizabeth interesting. Like, the book is called Pride and Prejudice. She has pride, he is prejudiced. Like, that is the ultimate tension between them that like fuels them. She's too prideful and he judges people, right? So there's inherently something conflictual about who they are as people, and then there's conflict between them, and then there's conflict happening around them. So there are many layers of conflict. What it felt like with this show was that all of the conflict was being enacted upon Mary, as opposed to anything that was really intrinsic to her, like anything that she kind of struggled with or grappled with. And so it was hard for her to feel like she was a fully fleshed out character, because her flaws were all things that were very like kind of endearing. Like, she's a little too blunt. She might be autistic. She talks too much. She reads all these books about marriage, but she's not willing to talk about it. She can't stand up for herself. Like, all of these things can be read through a lens of antagonism, like Caroline Bingley's character seems to in the show, or they can be read through a lens of endearment. But, like, it's kind of hard to be endeared by someone's pridefulness. You know, it's kind of hard to be endeared by someone's prejudice. Like, these are character flaws that are inherent to them and that stop them from being able to get what they want in the show. Mary's main character flaw is that she can't say and go after what she wants, which is kind of like, one, the rules of the society that she lived in. Two, it's like the way that most people are. Most people can't say what they want. Most people can't go after what they want. And 3, it's like all she would have to do is say plainly, this is what I would like, and then everything would be fine. At a certain point, like in the latter half of the show, that's really all she would have to do, and then everything would be fine. So there's nothing about her that is really like stopping her from being able to live happily ever after, except the fact that she's like kind of not super confident. I hope that makes sense. Like, and there's nothing that makes it kind of like, that makes her character feel, like I said, fleshed out, in that she has good qualities and bad qualities. Like, not being able to stand up for yourself isn't a bad quality in the same way that being prideful or reckless, like how Lydia is. That's something that you can learn. Being prideful is something that is like harder to unlearn. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. If she was like a little bit rude or like a little bit mean, or if she like spoke without thinking, or if she was like spiteful or something, if there was something about her that was negative, that impacted other people, I would feel like she was more fleshed out as a character. But that, like, being the only thing that's really negative about her, and the only one who really gets hurt in that process is herself, like, that to me kind of feels like they're trying too hard to make her into an angel, and there have to be some other flaws about this character. Like, she was so sweet and so kind throughout the span and like the action of the show, that at a certain point it kind of felt unbelievable. It was like, wow, she really is like great at giving every single person she comes across the benefit of the doubt. And she's super empathetic and great at putting herself in other people's shoes. And like, really the only thing that's wrong with her is that she can't speak up for herself, and she's not the prettiest of her sisters. The thing that really amplified that experience for me was that her mom was so mean. Like, her mom was almost cartoonishly evil in this version of the show. And I get that it's like a show that has a lens, right? So like, the idea is, living through Pride and Prejudice as Mary Bennet, she would probably see Mrs. Bennet as being very evil and like only caring about her sisters who are pretty enough to marry well. But it was just like so horrible constantly. And her mom was always bringing up Mary's shortcomings. And it's like, well, what are her shortcomings? She doesn't really have any obvious shortcomings, except that she's like not the prettiest member of the family, but like, that's debatable, you know, like everybody is pretty to somebody, right? So her mom was constantly criticizing her and constantly ridiculing her, but it was like, there's nothing to really criticize. Her mom's critique and ridicule was not rooted in any kind of truth. So it felt really like she was just a bully who was like pouncing on a weak target and who wanted a punching bag, as opposed to a loving and caring mother with like different facets and multiple dimensions. Like, she was so single-minded about making sure that the girls get married. There was none of that like quirky humor that Mrs. Bennet has in a lot of adaptations, and in the book too. Through her characterization in the show, you can really see why Mr. Bennet was like, ugh, why did I marry this lady? Like, there was nothing about her that was endearing, and I found that to be both hard to watch and hard to believe, because there's no people, well, I mean, there are people who are like that, and there are people who experience their mothers like that, but it's just like, based off of what we read in the book, this isn't necessarily exactly how she would behave. But she was even like that with Elizabeth and Lydia. She was very critical. She was very reductive. Like, it wasn't like she was lavishing praise on her daughters who married and married well and just like punching down onto Mary. She was like equally as evil to all of them, which was very confusing to me. I was like, is there anything about this woman that's redeemable? There's a little glimmer of it towards the end of the series when she's talking to Mary. Like, her and Mary are finally having a confrontation. Mary is finally standing up for herself and saying, look, because throughout the show, Mary's mother is desperate for her to marry this one specific guy because he is Lady Catherine de Bourgh's other nephew that isn't Mr. Darcy, and he's very rich. Like, he's about to inherit her fortune, and he really loves Mary. He wants to marry her. And Mrs. Bennet is like, we have to make sure that this happens. Like, you have to marry this guy. But Mary's not in love with him. And so she's finally confronting her mother. Mary is finally confronting her mother at the end, and she's like, look, I don't love this guy. Like, I don't like him that much. He's a good friend, but nothing more. And her mom is like, no, you have to go back and call him back and make sure and apologize and make sure that he wants to marry you. And Mary's explaining, like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to become a governess, which is what she wants to do, but that's embarrassing to the family because she's working for her money. And I'm going to live in London, because a whole subplot in the show is that she moves to London to stay with her aunt and uncle, Mr. and Mrs. Gardner, and they kind of take her under their wing, and she blossoms outside of the critique of her mother. So she's finally telling her mother in the final episode, I'm staying in London, I'm becoming a governess, it's what's going to make me happy. And she's trying to like reconcile with her mom and empathize with her. And like I said, she's basically an angel. She's very empathetic. And she's able to like get her mom's guard down. And her mom finally says to her, I didn't want you to be left behind. And that one line does a lot of work, because that was when it kind of clicked for me. The reason that she's been such an evil hag this entire time is because she wanted to make sure that Mary would either have a family to take care of her or be near her mother so that she was not alone. Because she noticed, like, she was like, I have 5 daughters. They all have to get married, right? Mary is the only one who is left unmarried after all of the other sisters get married. So she was like, okay, well, Mary's not getting married. She basically is like trying to turn Mary into her handservant. And at first I thought it was because she was cruel, but now I'm thinking, oh, it's because she wants her to be near family. Like, she wants to make sure that she knows she's still a part of the family. So she's like, let me keep you close instead of sending you away to stay with your aunt and uncle. And that did a lot of work humanizing her for me, but it didn't make up for all of the evil things that she said to Mary and the horrible things that she did to her daughters over the course of the series. What I would say is I really recommend it. Like, if you're interested in Regency era shows, if you liked the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, this is kind of like reheating those nachos, because this is also a BBC about like Pride and Prejudice. I'm not excited about whatever the hell they're doing with Emma Corrin on Netflix. Okay. Unless they're doing a spin where Elizabeth Bennett is a little bit trans-mask. I think actually I might have just talked myself into it. Also, they cast Jack Lowden to play Mr. Darcy, and like I just watched Mary Queen of Scots, that like movie that he met Saoirse Ronan on. If you don't know, he's Saoirse Ronan's husband. Good. He was good in that. But he's not Mr. Darcy. Like, it's not clicking for me. The casting is really not clicking for me. The only person to me who makes sense is Freya Mavor as Jane Bingley. She's been my girl since Skins. Like, I have wanted her to take off since Skins. And if this is what causes it, okay, I'll take it. I don't remember why I started talking about that. Oh, yeah. If you like period pieces, then yeah, absolutely watch this. It's very good. The thing that I think this show really excels at is the set design, the costumes, the sound, the lighting, the mise en scène. Okay, getting you into the time period of the Regency era, and also the way that the drama plays out. Because this is focused on Mary, and this isn't like, say, Mansfield Park, where people are doing kind of like, they're doing illicit behaviors, okay? They're having illicit affairs, okay? There's less of that raunchy energy that a show like Bridgerton would bring. But I think it's appropriate to compare the Other Bennet Sister to Bridgerton, first because they're contemporaneous, like they're coming out now at the same time. I think if they did a Mansfield Park adaptation that was more raunchy like Bridgerton, that would really hit, actually. Why am I telling you guys? Let me get to writing. Oh, let me send someone an email and see if I can get staffed on that. It doesn't have that same raunchy energy, so there's not people like making out, undressing each other, getting fingered on the stairs, like none of that. But what I think is important in this that is missing from Bridgerton, and that has made the last 2 seasons of Bridgerton fall flat for me personally, is that it doesn't feel like it's the Regency era anymore. It feels like by season 8, Gregory is going to whip out an iPhone and start texting his crush about how he's coming to crash her wedding as a part of an extended product placement for Apple. Like, that's how far we have strayed from the Regency era brief that this show sold initially. And it's like, at a certain point, this is, I get that it's supposed to just be like Scandal or Grey's Anatomy or some other Shonda Rhimes show set in 1810. But if you're going to set it in 1810, set it in 1810 for a reason. Don't just set it in 1810, throw on some empire waist gowns and keep it moving. I was so happy that I did not see a singular sequin in the first 6 episodes of this show. And if I did see something shine unnaturally, it was to prove a point, and it was a character moment. It was very intentional. They were not just doing it to do it. I was not seeing strip lashes pop off of people's eyeballs. Okay, there was barely even foundation in this show. So maybe some concealer buffed in very, very well. All right. It felt so much like you were watching somebody in the 1810s. Not even just that, like, even the green screen was better. Like, there's a moment where they're standing on a mountain in the Lake District, and it's obviously a green screen, but it's 10,000 times better than the ass green screen that they had in the last season of Bridgerton. Like, what was that about? They looked like they were on a boat, but they were supposed to be in Mayfair in London. It was very weird. There is an irreverence with which Bridgerton is being made, right? It's an alternate timeline, so things are happening slightly differently. The queen is black. There's mixed race people and like mixed race relationships in the town. Lord knows where everything is going to go from here. Honestly, I think they should have, with Queen Charlotte, I think they should have not had the Princess Royal Charlotte die and instead have her live and have children with Leopold the First, so that Leopold the Second is never born, so that the massacre in Congo never happens. But I'm gonna make a short about that, so click on my page and see if it's up. But like, it's an alternate timeline. Things are happening differently. I get that. Did people discover plastic in this alternate timeline though? Because why does everybody have a sequin gown on every single episode? What's going on? What exactly are we doing? Sequin gowns, full beat, highlighter, full blush, strip lash, red lipstick. Penelope wearing red lipstick in the season finale of season 3 was the final straw for me. To me personally, season 3 was a huge letdown. They had such good material to work with. They could improve so far from where they came, and they just fumbled it so heavy. The press tour was more compelling than that season of television. Realism is necessary for period pieces. I get that it's supposed to be an alternate timeline, so we're changing things a little bit. But if you're going to set the show in the past, you have to be realistic to a point. There are places where you can deviate with what's happening, like the types of people who are around, the historical figures who you write out or write in, all of this stuff. But if it's the 1810s, it can't look like the 2020s. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say this is the 1810s and this is an alternate timeline, so that means that plastic was discovered in 1759 and now we have sequins. And like, we're playing too with the propriety of it all. You know, people are walking around town and holding hands. They're having illicit affairs on back staircases. They're sleeping with people outside of marriage. They're having their maids cover up for them. And there are sides of Regency era life that are being shown that are not necessarily talked about. Like, I'm sure people were hunching during the Regency era, and I'm sure they were hunching outside of marriage. I'm sure they were getting pregnant outside of wedlock. They had mistresses. They had all of these things that are being represented in Bridgerton. The thing that's frustrating about that is that you have something like the first season where there are levels of propriety in public, right? Like, you don't speak to a man unsupervised. You don't touch hands with a man unsupervised. You only dance twice with the same person, and then you have to switch out and dance with someone else. Like, all of these things that kind of appear in the first season that are completely dispensed with by the second season. By season 4, they're making out in the courtyard in full view of it. Anybody could have walked past, and you can say like, oh, well, the main character for season 4, like the FMC for season 4 is a maid, so it doesn't matter if she's kissing someone, but like, it would to that society. If people saw the lady in silver kissing Benedict in the gazebo at Bridgerton House, they would be like, oh my God. And her doing that with him should have been a signal to him that she was not a lady, that she was not a part of polite society. And yet he keeps looking amongst the ton to find her. So there are ways that there's like this gap between like doing everything. They're like trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're doing everything and it's making it seem like they're not doing anything. They're not making any choices. What I like about the Other Bennet Sister is that there is that real grounding in the Regency era. It really feels like we're in that time period. Down to the chemises that Mary is wearing under her dresses. You don't even see a chemise in Bridgerton after season 1. Like, you don't see those little undershirts that cover up your décolletage in these like empire waist square neck gowns that were so fashionable during the Regency era. You're seeing boobs, titties hiked up to the chest. Like, everything is exposed, basically. It makes it feel unrealistic. They do like a big to-do about the set and the costumes for Bridgerton at the beginning of every season when they're doing promotion. But it's like, why are you showing me how you made these costumes when the costumes aren't even period accurate? You could have just sewn a dress out of anything. Why did you even make the costume? Why didn't you just go down to the Shein, pull something off the rack, and retrofit it to the actresses? Like, it To me, it's like, it's a waste of time, energy, and resources. If you're not going to do it well, then don't do it at all. And that's the thing that I find so frustrating about Bridgerton, that I found very refreshing about The Other Bennet Sister, was that I really felt like this is a show that is set in the Regency era. And the thing that makes Regency era smut so fun and hot is that you're playing with this juxtaposition. This is this time of like rigid social expectation and rules that everybody lives by in the outside world. But then there's all these illicit things that are happening behind the scenes. And so when the illicit things happen, it's even more fun because the gulf between what's expected of these people and what they're doing is so wide. Bridgerton has completely closed that gap so that like by the next season, people will be having full sex in the middle of Hyde Park and no one's gonna even bat an eyelash. The one thing that I think was a bridge too far in The Other Bennet Sisters, that in the last episode when she finally ends up with her like love match for the show, they start making out in the middle of Hyde Park, and I'm like, okay, you wouldn't kiss in public like this in the Regency era. Freshly engaged and you're kissing in public like this, like, let's be a little bit serious. A governess and this guy who is a professional, like, no, that is not appropriate. That's a suspension of disbelief that's acceptable, because we've had this whole show not with these people not even touching, and we were not going to be able to leave the show without them kissing and feel satisfied. So like, yeah, they kiss in the middle of Hyde Park in the front of this fountain, and conveniently everyone has cleared out so nobody is watching them do it. They spend the whole show calling each other by like formal titles, and then this is the first time that they call one another by their first names. You know, like there is that level of like those societal rules that really just like kind of grounds the show and makes it feel real to the period that it's set in, and makes it feel intentional, that you don't get in Bridgerton. Because you could do The Other Bennet Sister, you could set it today, could be like a modern day retelling from Mary Bennet's perspective, and you wouldn't have to follow all of these rules. She could have a body count of 78, but she just hasn't found that guy that she's going to fall in love with. But that's not what they did. They set it in the 1810s, they made it the 1810s, and they created a story for Mary that made sense for that time period. So for me personally, what I would like to see from Bridgerton going forward, and from any period piece going forward, decide where the line is between history and what we're doing, and stick to that. Don't keep moving the goalpost, because it's going to be confusing as the show progresses, isn't it? It seemed like we were in one realm during season 1 of Bridgerton. Now seasons 2, 3, 4, we're in a completely different realm. And I want to get back to where we were season 1. I didn't even love the story of season 1 that much. But like I said, the mise en scène, you really felt like you were in the 1810s. There were some things, of course, that don't give that experience, you know. However, for the most part, it was like, yeah, this is the 1810s. Season 4, I was like, I would hope that moving forward, we focus more on period appropriate sets, period accurate costumes. I want to see costumes that could hang in a museum and people would believe that they were from the 1810s. That's how I felt watching The Other Bennet Sister. The quality of the materials that were used, every single dress you know was made with cotton, muslin, or linen, or whatever the ladies were wearing during that time period. And I know because I was watching it on my big TV in Ultra HD. Okay, I could see the fibers on those dresses, all right? Polyester. You're making a polyester period 1810s gown, and you want me to look at that and pretend like I'm not seeing it while these people are also humping on each other in the middle of a living room? Like, it's too much. That's what I have to say. I highly recommend The Other Bennet Sister. I said that there were going to be spoilers in this, but there's not as many as I thought. So, like, I think you should still be able to watch it without being, like, super disappointed if you didn't pause this to go and watch it before. But if you watch this, please let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about the book, if you've read it, if you think I should read the book, if you've read it, or if you just want me to read the book so that you don't have to. I am thinking about doing a Jane Austen summer again. A few years ago, I read every Jane Austen book over the course of the summer, and I think I am going to document that. It will be a reread for me, but I will be hopefully putting up reading vlogs on my YouTube members and review videos on here, and ranking my final choices for the Jane Austen summer. If that is something that you are interested in, please subscribe to this channel. If you've liked this video, or if you just want to tell me happy birthday, please give this video a big thumbs up. That really helps me to find other people who might be interested in the things that I have to say. I'm just so happy to be here talking to you and making this video and posting it 1 week after my last one. She's on a schedule, babe. Anyway, I'm going to stop yapping and get out of here. But thank you again so much for watching this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!